Well, my next guest is a father who is so desperate to help his daughter, he is essentially breaking the law. Now, this week in State Parliament, they'll be debating allowing the use of cannabis oil for therapeutic purposes, or medical cannabis. The evidence shows that medical cannabis may be an appropriate treatment option, particularly when used to complete traditional treatments. Queensland's Health Minister Cameron Dick told Parliament when he introduced this bill in May of this year, and I'm quoting, "We know that there are Queensland patients out there right now who could benefit from having access to medicinal cannabis products." End of quote. Well, this week, State Parliament debates the bill. My guest is a man by the name of Steve Peake. Steve has a daughter who has an undetermined neurological disorder. Steve, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
It's related to, but not entirely, a form of epilepsy, as I understand it. Is that correct?
It's a regressive neurological disorder which causes refractory epilepsy. They don't know what it is, why, or...
So there's no final diagnosis as to what Sully, your daughter, has?
No.
All right. Now, she has been, or you have been administering her cannabis oil for how long?
15th of May last year, we started on cannabis oil. The last medication she was on was causing her bleeding stomach ulcers again, so that was the last medication available. So,
why are you administering on occasion cannabis oil to your daughter when you know it's illegal?
It's the only thing that controls her epilepsy and gives her... It's for the last year up until, when was it? The end of May this year. She hadn't been in hospital because her epilepsy was controlled. She had a brain lesion which had disappeared while she was on the cannabis oil. So she had really good results from it and was helping her.
Tell me a little bit about Sully. Tell me a little bit about your little girl.
She's 8. She's non-verbal. She physically now, she has about the physical ability of about a 1-month-old infant. Cognitively, she's a lot older. She can communicate with her eyes by blinking for yes, look away for no. She laughs. She cries. Yeah.
Is she your only child?
No, I've got 2 kids from a previous marriage and 3.
Okay.
So with Sully and a brother and a sister.
Now, you have been taking Sully to hospital for some period of time. For how long?
Since she was 1. She, after she was born, she was fairly normal, but then she started being a bit late with a few milestones, and she had a few problems, and then at 1, she got admitted for pneumonia. And
okay. And Queensland's best doctors have been unable to make a final determination as to what the cause of her neurological disorder is?
No,
right. Nobody can. Now, in the last, 12, 18 months, her condition has worsened significantly, and she's been in and out of the Lady Salento Children's Hospital multiple times.
Before she went on the cannabis oil, she was constantly in and out of hospital. From May last year till about the end of May this year, she hadn't been in hospital for her epilepsy, and she wasn't regressive. She was far more alert, far more aware. But on towards the end of May, she caught a virus. Okay. And got sicker and sicker.
Okay. You've taken her to hospital. They administer traditional sort of industrial pharmacological treatments. What is the effect of those?
The last 2 times, in the space of 3 weeks, she was on a resuscitator. She's on a respirator twice in the space of 3 weeks. The severe side effects is respiratory failure.
So the treatment that the hospital has been administering has caused her to have respiratory failure.
That's right. Yeah. There's no rescue medications left. The last time she was in ICU, she was extubated after she'd been intubated for about 3 or 4 days. She started having seizures again because they wouldn't let us give her the cannabis oil in the hospital. They wanted to start the rescue procedure all over again, which would have ended up in the same result again, and we said no more.
All right. Now, apparently there are no other sort of medically recognised medications or treatments left for her. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Now, you are doing something that is not approved by law.
That's right.
Why did you choose cannabis oil? What made you go to cannabis oil to relieve the symptoms of her undiagnosed condition?
We did a fair bit of research, and there's a lot of people who've had a lot of very good results from using cannabis oil. It's not just me, it's not just 2 or 3 people. There's thousands of people using it.
What does cannabis oil not do that traditional medicine or drugs that the hospital's been giving her does? It doesn't have any side effects?
No, we've
or
seen
deleterious side effects?
No. We have one rescue medication left we can use, which is called diazepam. If we give her diazepam, her heart rate goes up to 150, her oxygen levels go down to 80, close to respiratory failure. She might sleep for half an hour, wake up, have a seizure. With cannabis oil, she'll go to sleep, her heart rate will be on 100, her oxygen levels will be 99, 100. She'll sleep for about 2 hours, wake up and not have another seizure.
Now, recently you were in hospital and the hospital basically caught you or discovered you administering cannabis oil. What happened?
She was having some seizures, so I went to give her the cannabis oil. A doctor saw me and said, "You can't do that, it's illegal." And it escalated from there. I was told by the Director of Medical Services that it's an illegal product and get it off the premises. The critical care pharmacist came down and spoke to me and said it was illegal and a poison. And if I give it to her, they'll call the police.
All right. So this was removed from the premises. So what are their options for your daughter? Because your daughter, as I understand it, is running out of options for her care.
We've been told if we can't control her seizures and we take her into the hospital, they would suggest that they give her a dose of morphine to stop the seizures, which would cause respiratory failure, and they would recommend not to be resuscitated.
What are they telling you, Steve? So they're telling you to give your daughter, or they would give your daughter, if she has another seizure, morphine, and that if it has a deleterious side effect, she would not be resuscitated.
They would recommend not to be resuscitated. So basically, we've been looking at a form of euthanasia, which I thought was illegal in this country, and they say what we're doing is illegal, but it's giving her quality of life.
It tells me, what went through your mind when you were told that about treating? What went through your mind, Steve? I know this is hard.
I was horrified. Look, I've been down a lot of avenues, researched a lot of things, and there's an oath that all doctors swear to. It's a modern oath. It used to be the Hippocratic Oath. It's not anymore. At the start, it says doctors should act with compassion and understanding, but the thing is, towards the end, it says a doctor must realise that the surgeon's knife and the chemist's drugs are not always the answer. Now, there's also in the United Nations a child's right to life. Basically, what they're doing is against the United Nations Charter. But the problem is it doesn't carry any weight here because in the Australian legislation, there's no human rights. In the Australian Constitution, there's no human rights legislation, so it's worthless.
Let's go back to your daughter. So her prognosis is not good by the sounds of it.
No, we had a meeting with her paediatrician Thursday last week, and he said all decisions we make now should be based on her quality of life.
And what is her quality of life future?
At home, we control her seizures.
Using cannabis oil?
Using cannabis oil, we control her seizures. She's been on the ketogenic diet for 5.5 years to try and control her epilepsy, but that caused her a lot of severe side effects, so she had to go off that. So there's absolutely nothing left for her except the cannabis oil. That's the only thing that's controlling her seizures.
So when you administer the cannabis oil, how do you know how much to administer?
This is where there's a big network of parents some have been doing it for a long time, some short time. We all communicate, and it's all been done by trial and error now. No child has ever suffered an overdose. You can't give them too much. What we're giving Suli contains moderate levels of CBD and low levels of THC. Now, you could drink a gallon of it and you won't. All it'll do is make you feel sick because you've drunk too much oil. The major component of it is coconut oil.
What do you want As the dad of this 8-year-old little girl, what do you want, Steve? What does you and your wife want for her?
Somewhere, even our paediatrician said, somewhere along the line, our daughter's going to have to go to ICU. She may catch another virus, and as such, we're going to have the problem again. Now, what we need, and what Suli needs, is some form of approval for her to be able to use the cannabis oil in the hospital. But I've spoken to Queensland Health numerous times about it. They keep saying that there are legal options. Now, what they say is under the special access scheme, we could import a cannabis product. One, we can't afford it. It'll cost about $4,000 or $5,000 a month to import it. Two, we don't have the time and we don't know if it'll work.
What do the doctors say when they see, apparently, that the benefits that cannabis oil have provided your daughter Suli so far, when their recognised pharmacological medicines have not worked and had life-threatening side effects?
They can't say anything. The Queensland Health stance is that they cannot condone or approve of the use of cannabis oil in the hospital or at any stage. Doctors aren't allowed to have an opinion of it. They can't approve or condone of it. So they've seen the benefits, but
so they've seen firsthand that when she's under some sort of administration of cannabis oil, although it's not medically approved or authorised or legal, that she is calm. Not suffering side effects. Her heart rate and her oxygen intake are relatively normal.
First time in the end of July, when the first time she was in ICU and had to be resuscitated, they had her on every known drug. She'd already had respiratory failure. They had her on propofol, which is general anaesthetic. They had her on high doses of midazolam, and she was still seizuring every 2 minutes. So I gave her cannabis oil regardless. After 20 minutes, her seizures went to about 15 minutes apart. 4 hours later, I gave her another dose. Her seizures went to 1 hour apart. The afternoon, I gave her the third dose and her seizures completely stopped. Yet we were at the stage where my wife and I had the discussion, we're going to have to make a decision because we can't see her continue like this, but the oil stopped the seizures in the hospital.
State Parliament this week is debating therapeutic cannabis bill. What do you want the members of Parliament to consider as they look at this?
The cannabis bill is very restrictive. They talk about the Drugs Misuse Act. Okay, every drug can be misused. We have drugs in our cupboard for epilepsy, which are worth a lot of money on the black market, yet there's no controls over that. But cannabis oil, the controls are very restrictive. They're talking about having to get a police check done before you can have it. They're going to increase the penalties for families like us who aren't using an approved product. It's all, nobody knows. Sorry.
You're right.
There's no public knowledge about what products are going to be approved or anything.
But at the moment, as far as you're concerned, that the approved, scientifically founded treatment for your daughter, even though they can't diagnose the exact nature of her neurological condition, they are failing to help. In fact, they've risked her life. But cannabis oil, which you're administering, is giving her some sort of quality of life.
In a year and a half, we have seen not one side effect from the cannabis oil, yet every medication that is... None of these medications that they give to these kids have been trialled on children under 5 years of age. Not one. They all have severe side effects. It's all listed in the packet, all the severe side effects. Some kids don't suffer them, some kids do. Our daughter has had horrendous side effects, but not one side effect from the cannabis in a year and a half.
Are you prepared to be arrested?
If I have to, yeah. Yeah. My daughter's life, well, it's beyond saving my daughter's life. It's now quality of life.
Okay.
I don't think anybody has the right to take away somebody's quality of life.
I appreciate you coming in and telling the story. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Steve Peake, father of Suli. State Parliament debates the medicinal cannabis bill this week.